And hello again. This was going to be my first of 4 planned rants of the remaining ones that are on my list. And just going to cut to the chase here. This is going to be a rant on an era that I'm sure we all know and remember and love and will always cherish, at least most of us. This era, of course, is the era that we grew up in as kids, the 90s. What all can we say about the 90s? I mean, back then we just had everything. I mean, we had the best games, best TV shows, best music, best cartoons, best pretty much everything. And back then, school was actually fun. It didn't feel like you were in prison. Like today in high school and college, you're just like, wow, get me out of here. And first off, let's start with school. What was school back then? Especially kindergarten. It was, and of course, as 4-year-old kids were like, well, I don't want to be here away from home. I just want to stay at home, But what was kindergarten? It was go there, do some coloring sheets, other activities, nap time, wake up, juice and cookies, behavior chart, go home. Oh, and PE, lunch, all that. I mean, that was it. I mean, and the later years came on, you did some more stuff like computer labs, art class, choir, all that stuff. And we actually complained about that. And then we go to middle school, which middle school really isn't that bad, I don't think. At least it wasn't for me. And then high school comes, and you're just like, wow, this really sucks. I didn't really hate my high school. I hated the building, but I liked my high school years. Now I'm out of high school and in college, and college just feels like a total prison. Especially the one I'm going to, because it's just so hard. Like, I'm not struggling or anything, but seriously, I just want to probably just go to a community college after this and finish my last year somewhere else, because, But, I mean, back when we were growing up, school was actually fun. When we eventually got the hang of it, we're like, yeah, this is pretty good. I mean, we at least get to do some stuff, coloring, all that, hang with friends, whatever. And then you get to the later years of school, and all just pretty much just goes downhill. And especially the loss of that magical thing we always loved, recess. Once recess went, we're just like, yeah, school fucking sucks. I think I'll just drop out and stay at home. Yeah, okay, so that was pretty much school. Now, video game wise, this is back in the era when the PlayStation, N64, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, all of those systems. Super Nintendo, especially for me, that's like my all-time favorite system. And we had all these games first came out. We had like fucking Super Mario World, Super Mario Brothers, All Stars, Sonic the Hedgehog, Super Metroid, all those games, Mega Man, all those, or Mega Man X, all those. And I'm not saying games today are bad, but they don't give that same. At least in most cases, they don't give that same spark that happens when you play games when you were growing up. Like when I play like games that I grew up with on the N64, I'm always just like, wow, holy shit, memories just flooding back, and it's still fun to play. I mean, I'll still play Super Mario All Stars a lot, and I've played Super Mario World so many times. Jesus, I can beat the whole game, finding every single accomplishment in like less than 4 hours. And back then games were just so simple. I mean, there was no. This is back before consoles had online capabilities. At least the Dreamcast actually did have it, but it was very complicated. It really didn't get popular until like the PS2 and the Xbox came out. I mean, PCs have pretty much always had it, but kids, as kids, they didn't really play on a PC much. At least none of the ones that I knew. And you always go to a friend's house, play some video games, do just that. And it was a blast, back then. And what else? TV shows, hell. When I look back on the cartoons that I grew up watching, I still laugh at them. I mean, I'm a 19-year-old guy, for God's sake. I'm laughing at these cartoons I watched when I was like 4 or 5. I try to watch 5 minutes of any cartoon today that's new, like that Flapjack the Pirate. Okay, first off, that is just the gayest shit. I'm sorry, I mean to be so blunt here, but that is the gayest shit I've ever seen. That kid dressed up in tight pirate suit and pirate pants with that tiny little gay pirate hat with the flippy blonde hair. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just the epitome of gay. I'm sorry. That it's just so. It's not even funny. I mean, the kid fucking looks and sounds like he's a 4-year-old with Down syndrome. I'm serious. That's what he sounds like. God, I just want to. Ugh. And that's not the only one. It's definitely the worst I've seen, but I've seen others that are almost as bad. And then you go back to cartoons we grew up with, like Freakazoid, Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, Rocko's Modern Life, Ren and Stimpy, all the cartoons that nowadays, by a bunch of soccer moms, would be considered too politically incorrect. So, and they're like, if we take away, the jokes that were in the shows, we'd be taking away pretty much the whole show. So we're just not going to show it ever again, unless you have satellite TV, which most people don't, including me. But I do have DVDs of some of them, so it's all good. Kind of. But I'm serious. I tried to watch some of the cartoons today. So some of the ones that are supposed to be, had that kind of stupid humor that we had, back growing up. I just can't sit through without thinking, God, this drops my IQ by 10 points per second watching this. It's so bad. So bad. And what else? Oh, music. Probably my most important favorite subject here. This is where I'm just 90s guy all the way. I mean, if I could, I would litter this white-ass boring wall with just 90s music posters. Hell, I'll probably order a shitload in the future. Because, I mean, back in the 90s, we had all the good music. We had grunge, we had alternative, we had the best metal, all that shit. I mean, you know, think bands like Nirvana, fucking Foo Fighters, well, when they started. They're still going today, but back when they started. Who else? There's tons. Late Rush, Alice in Chains, fucking Gin Blossoms, Better Than Ezra. All these bands, you know. But back when growing up, we listened to all this and we're like, damn, this kicks ass. And then we got music nowadays. Not all of it's bad. I mean, there's a lot of good bands out there nowadays, but unfortunately, it's overshadowed by what is supposedly popular, which is rap shit. All of which is just disgraceful. It's so just ugh. I can't stand to even listen to it. I don't know how people can stand to listen to it. They're just like, oh yeah, well, I think I'm black by listening to this. Yeah. A bunch of wiggers listening to it. And they're like, oh, it's got a cool beat. Beat isn't everything. I mean, yeah, the beat's okay. That's the only thing I like about rap is the beat. Like, I'll take it. If it's a good percussion beat, because I like drums and everything, I'll tap to the beat. But it's also got to have the lyrics. And not just a bunch of fucking synthesized drums just, like that. I mean, it's just, no, it just doesn't work. It does not work. And also in the 90s, we had MTV, the good MTV. The MTV that was actually MTV. With the good shows like Beavis and Butthead and Celebrity Deathmatch, an actual music video showing. Not bullshit like, early Real World Road Rules, which is good for a while, then it just got shitty. And now we got all this shit that doesn't even relate to music. It's not music TV anymore. But that's a later rant. That's actually a separate rant. But back in the early 90s to mid-90s, MTV was the shit, man. It had all the good music on it. Bands like, Pearl Jam, Butthole Surfers, Nirvana, like I said, all those bands back then. That was what made the 90s so great, and that's why I wish we could just stay in there for good. Fuck the thousands, fuck any futures, and fuck this new popular music. Okay, rap is actually dying down, thank God, but now it's just getting replaced by something just as bad. Teeny bop shit. Miley Cyrus, Jonas Brothers. Ugh. I think I'd rather give myself a root canal than listen to that. I honestly would. Here, I'll just cut my gums open with a knife and just like that. Anyway. That's all I have to say about that. In short, 90s kicked ass. You know it. Don't deny it. You will never win an argument with me if you're anti-90s, because I will own your ass. The 90s kicked ass. You missed out if you weren't born in the 90s. However, that's not really your fault, but still, you missed out if you weren't growing up in the 90s, because that was just the best. Hopefully, we'll have an era in the future almost as good, if maybe as good as the 90s, but at this rate, not likely. And with that, I will see you next time.